today and ace your interviews, ensuring you land your dream job in cybersecurity. Don't wait for cyber threats to strike. Become the solution. Enroll in Softafrique Group's 16-week cybersecurity course today and start your journey to a high-paying career. Visit portal.softafrique.net to sign up now. Call for the USA plus 15029667638 and for Ghana plus 2332687888884.
But it is 4 p.m. in Ghana, and sometimes people are always coming from work and doing other things. So try to make this as short as possible. So let's move on to our first part of threat intelligence seminar. That is our video awareness training. Very, very important part where we look at why we need to do this and that. These animated videos will educate us on some do's and don'ts and about how we can keep our system secure. So I'll just bring out my screen. We will watch this video, and when we are done with this video, we will look at our second part, which is our practicals or our presentation part, where we look at things to protect ourselves from threats and be safe from cyber criminals. So let's do that. So when my screen comes up, let me know if you can see my screen.
Ninjio, Episode 711, Update with Destiny. Security topic, Security Updates, starring Linda Evans as Carrie. Apple recently urged its users to update their iPhones, iPads, and Mac computers after a security flaw allowed hackers to take over these devices. Updating your software in a timely manner is crucial to keeping your devices and information secure. Big city PR firm, New York City high-rise. A pop star barges into an office.
Lady Donna, your new album is so hot. Carrie gave me a sneak peek. It's gonna go viral for sure. Wait, you can't go in there. She's with another client.
Well, PR rep, mind telling me how we're gonna handle this crisis?
Excuse me, I'm not even sure I know what you're talking about.
Do a web search of my name and see if it clues you in. I'll wait.
A phone screen displays articles about Lady Donna's gambling addiction and accusations of music plagiarism because she was hacked.
All of this on the eve of my new album dropping. We need to do some damage control.
Yes, of course. I'll figure out a positive spin. Trust me.
And get to the bottom of how this information leaked. I want whoever's behind it held accountable.
You have my word on it.
Lady Donna's apartment, days later.
Tell me you have news.
I do.
Okay then, spill the tea. What happened?
The leak traces back to a cybersecurity breach where someone close to you got their phone hacked via a security flaw.
Was this through what they call a zero-day vulnerability, where the source of the leak couldn't have been at fault because they didn't know about the flaw, or a patch hadn't been issued yet?
That's not the case, no. The person who got hacked failed to do a software update, despite one being issued by the device manufacturer who advised users repeatedly to do so. This person thought that because they were using an Apple device, the update wasn't all that crucial.
Are you kidding me? Apple issues updates on the regular. And while these often simply add features and fix bugs, they also include security patches. I thought it was common knowledge. If a hacker discovers a new vulnerability, your best protection is to update your device right quick.
I know. New plans are being implemented to make sure nothing like this happens again. We're getting the word out to everyone that skipping updates for long periods of time can reduce your device's security and open you up to attack.
A cartoon cell phone becomes defenseless as its owner refuses security updates.
You should always apply system updates as soon as you can
A treasure chest gifts the phone a new sword and a shield to protect itself.
and enable automatic updates so your device will automatically apply them for you.
Wait, you said the leak came from someone close to me. How close are you talking about exactly?
Unfortunately, it was me.
What?
I know. Hey, you wouldn't know of any good PR firms who could help me put a positive spin on this, do you?
Actually, no, I don't.
Teachable takeaways. Whether you have Apple, Android, or something else, always update your devices immediately when a security update is published. For device updates that are not managed by your organization, check for updates regularly. And make sure operating system and application automatic updates are enabled. When a patch is released for a zero-day vulnerability, it's important to take action and update your device. Bad actors will attempt to attack devices that haven't been updated. Ninjio, Episode 11. Update with Destiny. Security topic, Security Updates. Starring Linda Evans as Carrie. Apple recently urged its users to update their iPhones, iPads, and Mac computers after a security flaw allowed hackers to take over these devices. Updating your software in a timely manner is crucial to keeping your devices and information secure. Big city PR firm, New York City high-rise. A pop star barges into an office.
Lady Donna, your new album is so hot. Carrie gave me a sneak peek. It's gonna go viral for sure. Wait, you can't go in there. She's with another client.
Well, PR rep, mind telling me how we're gonna handle this crisis?
Excuse me, I'm not even sure I know what you're talking about.
Do a web search of my name and see if it clues you in. I'll wait.
A phone screen displays articles about Lady Donna's gambling addiction and accusations of music plagiarism because she was hacked.
All of this on the eve of my new album dropping. We need to do some damage control.
Yes, of course. I'll figure out a positive spin. Trust me.
And get to the bottom of how this information leaked. I want whoever's behind it held accountable.
You have my word on it.
Lady Donna's apartment. Days later.
Tell me you have news.
I do.
Okay then, spill the tea. What happened?
The leak traces back to a cybersecurity breach where someone close to you got their phone hacked via a security flaw.
Was this through what they call a zero-day vulnerability, where the source of the leak couldn't have been at fault because they didn't know about the flaw, or a patch hadn't been issued yet?
That's not the case, no. The person who got hacked failed to do a software update, despite one being issued by the device manufacturer who advised users repeatedly to do so. This person thought that because they were using an Apple device, the update wasn't all that crucial.
Are you kidding me? Apple issues updates on the regular. And while these often simply add features and fix bugs, they also include security patches. I thought it was common knowledge. If a hacker discovers a new vulnerability, your best protection is to update your device right quick.
I know. New plans are being implemented to make sure nothing like this happens again. We're getting the word out to everyone that skipping updates for long periods of time can reduce your device's security and open you up to attack.
A cartoon cell phone becomes defenseless as its owner refuses security updates.
You should always apply system updates as soon as you can
A treasure chest gifts the phone a new sword and a shield to protect itself.
and enable automatic updates so your device will automatically apply them for you.
Wait, you said the leak came from someone close to me. How close are you talking about exactly?
Unfortunately, it was me.
What?
I know. I know. Hey, you wouldn't know of any good PR firms who could help me put a positive spin on this, do you?
Actually, no, I don't.
Teachable takeaways. Whether you have Apple, Android, or something else, always update your devices immediately when a security update is published. For device updates that are not managed by your organization, check for updates regularly. And make sure operating system and application automatic updates are enabled. When a patch is released for a zero-day vulnerability, it's important to take action and update your device. Bad actors will attempt to attack devices that haven't been updated.
All right, so let's answer the question. So we are looking at security updates. I believe we all have understood this. So let's look at what we have with regard to the quiz. So what is happening? Okay. I don't know what is happening, but the quiz is not coming up. I think it's still loading. All right. Okay, so we have these questions. Most of them are true or false, and the last one is I think we have to select. So I'll read the questions as always, and you provide me with the answers based on the video that we just watched, right? Also, question number one, which is a true or false statement. Not every operating system needs to be updated immediately. True or false? We believe that not every operating system needs to be updated immediately. Do we believe that? Is it a true or false statement?
I think it's true.
Not every system needs to be updated
No,
immediately.
I think it's false. I think you have to update here.
False. All right, let's look at question number two. Cybersecurity vulnerabilities are relatively uncommon in iPhones. So are the chances of hackers exploiting them. True or false? Cybersecurity vulnerabilities common in iPhones or they are uncommon in iPhones? What do you think?
False.
Yeah. False. Okay. Okay. All right, let's look at question number three, which is another true or false statement. Software updates don't tend to include security patches. They usually only fix minor bugs or other feature upgrades. True or false? Software updates don't tend to include security patches. True or false?
It's false.
Yes, I agree with. Now, question number four. You should update your software whenever a security update is available. True or false?
I think true.
True is what I believe in. And question number five is also another true or false. A zero-day vulnerability means a security patch is immediately available. A zero-day vulnerability means a security patch is immediately available. True or false?
False.
False. All right, now let's select this. To make sure your devices are secured, you should The first option says only download software via Wi-Fi. Second one says check for updates regularly. The third one says enable automatic updates. Which one do you think is the correct one?
Enable automatic updates.
And then what again? We should select as many as we can. Is it only that or to enable automatic updates only?
Check for updates regularly.
Check for updates regularly. All right, let's look at what we have. So we have passed and we have achieved everything 100%. Let's look at what we have for today. And as we are talking about updates, automatic updates, so on, our class, we are moving at a place where I've been asked to go over again. So I will try my best to make sure we understand what we are doing. What we are going to talk about today is about endpoint management. What are endpoints in the first place? Endpoints are devices that are connected to a network. Those are endpoints. So any device that can connect to a network, these devices are called endpoints. And what are these devices? A typical example is our computers, our laptops, our mobile phones, our tablets. These things are all endpoints. And as we were watching this video was talking about, as we were watching this video was talking about the fact that we have to update constantly, look for updates constantly, check for updates regularly, right? Now, this thing that we are going to look at is something that allows IT administrators to manage systems, to manage endpoints. It is about endpoints, so we are looking at that. The whole reason or the whole idea this came up is because in a lot of modern companies, devices are scattered across various locations. People are allowed to work from their house. Others can work from different places. People are allowed to bring their own laptops, so on and so forth. And if all these computers, laptops are all parts or they're all connecting to your company's network, you must protect them. And endpoint management tool is what allows IT administrators and cybersecurity professionals to bring all these devices under one command, under one control, and they are able to manage them there and make sure that these systems, these computers, these laptops are protected. If there are updates, the endpoint central or the endpoint management tool would push these updates and make sure that these updates are protected. These updates are sent to those computers, and the users who are sitting behind those computers will get this update installed as best as they can. Now, let me bring this in our day-to-day life. Let's assume that you have a home. You are in a house where you have kids. Your kids all uses computers, or your family, a lot of people in your family in that particular small house of yours have computers that they use. You would want to manage the computers that your kids and all the other people in your house use under one command. Let's say the parents, maybe you and your partner. You want to manage what your kids do on their laptop. You want to make sure that with your kid's laptop, you can set a few things on your own computer that would affect your kid's laptop. You can put updates on your kid's laptop. You can install applications on your kid's laptop without even touching your kid's laptop. You can even shut it down without even touching it. You can even make sure updates are running on your kid's laptop without even touching it, as long as you are using this endpoint management tool and your kid's laptop are all under your control. A typical example of an endpoint management tool is manage Engine. Manage Engine is a company who offers a lot of cybersecurity tools. They offer SIM tools. They offer a lot of things. They offer other IT environment tools, application managers. They offer a lot of different things. But what we are looking at is this particular Endpoint Central. Ideally, this is a paid platform. You have to pay to use it. You get it? It is not free. You have to pay to use it, but there's a way where you have to subscribe, you pay every month, they'll bill you, so on and so forth. So that is what Endpoint Central is. But then the advantages of this tool, it's something that you can't play with, because if you leave your workers, if you leave your children to be updating their laptops, if you leave your children to be doing this and doing that, you trust me, they won't. If you tell them that they should update this tool, they won't. If you tell them that they should not visit these websites, they won't. But you, as a parent slash IT administrator, can make sure that all sites, all things are secured, all updates are sent to your kid's laptop, and these updates would run there. That is what we can use this Endpoint Central to do. There are lots of configurations where we can use this Endpoint Central to make sure that we can affect and send it to these endpoints under our command, and these endpoints will follow. So this is a definition of what an endpoint management tool is. It can do this and more. But this is a small explanation of what an endpoint management tool is. With Endpoint Central as an endpoint management tool, it comes in two forms. One on the cloud, or one where you download on your systems. So the IT administrator can choose to access Endpoint Central from the cloud, or would install it on the IT administrator's computers, and then the IT administrator will manage other endpoints under his command. This is what it means. So let's look at the Endpoint Central from the cloud. You see, so we are going to look at Endpoint Central from the cloud. We are going to use the cloud version. This is what we are going to look at. Let me see. This is where we are setting up an account for the first time. Let me see. I had this here. Manage engine. Okay. So if you go over this particular thing, you would have to create an account. With Manage Engine, you have to create an account. The administrator will create an account here. So if you want the cloud services, you would have to pay, and mostly it comes with a 30-day free trial, right? So the administrator will set everything up, the name, the business name, the phone, the company is working with, and then you agree and then you sign up if you are signing up for the first time. So I'll log in to the account that I have, right? I'll log into the account that I have, and I'll show you how we can configure this. What account did I use? Let me see. I think I used this. Type in my password. Okay. So this is where I am right now. Do we have a question, Clifford?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do. So
Okay.
this endpoint tool that you're talking about runs across the various operating systems, correct?
Yes, it runs across 3 operating systems: Linux, Mac, and
Three.
Windows. Mostly Linux, Mac, and
Not
Windows.
Android.
It has an Android platform as an endpoint, but you have to pay to add those things as like a plugin. You see?
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, let's look at that. So where are we here? Let me see where I am. I've logged in. Let's look at Endpoint Central. Service. Endpoint Central, where are you? All right, so I am accessing the Endpoint Central console. So if you try and you use the cloud version, this is where you visit. If you use the one that you install, you just install it on your computer. The difference between the two is this is hosted on the cloud. So a lot of back-end stuff are put on the cloud, right? But then with the one you put on your computer, it will take a lot of space. You have to configure the back-end stuff, which folder it will keep the records, where it will keep its logs, so on and so forth, right? And this is how you can select between the two. So if you want your own, let's say, your own form of customization with regards to the back end, you choose the one you install on your system. If you want to run it on, let's say, the company's clouds and making access easy, you can use the cloud version. So I have 4 computers that I'm managing under my command. How do you get those computers under your command? If in an organization, how do you get those computers? Whenever you are setting up the account for the first time, or whenever you download and you are logging in for the first time, they will give you how you can add computers to under that particular console. So the best thing is to run an agent on those computers. So Endpoint Central will give you a link peculiar to you, because each particular system and its link. So they will give you a link peculiar to you. You use this link to make sure that you run the agent on the system. So in an organization where you have, let's say, 20 computers, you can manage and install this agent on the 20 computers. For large enterprises that have, let's say, thousands of computers, there's a way around that, because most of those companies have a domain where these computers are connected to the network, and there's a way where you can use this domain to make sure that you put this agent on those thousand and many computers in an enterprise environment. But this is a very small environment, so to install this particular agent, you need to either send the link to your, the computers, and make sure they click on the link, install the agent on their system, or you can put it on a pen drive. You install the agent, you download the agent, put it on a pen drive, go around these 10 computers and make sure that you run this agent on these 10 computers. This is how easy or how manually you can set up these computers. And as soon as you put this agent on those computers, as long as these agents, these computers can connect to the internet, you will see them here under manage computers. And whenever you install an agent, the agent will automatically report to the manage engine console, that particular console. It will report in and it will be giving you feedbacks every time, every 90 minutes. This will be giving you feedback. So if, let's say, you would click on the manage computers, you will see the number of computers I have under my list. So I have Linux machine, and I have 2 Windows 10 and then 1 Windows 11. You see, so this is the Linux machine here. It is active. Whenever you see the green, it means that those computers are on. When there's a red, it means those computers are down. It is not online yet. You see, so this is while you can see. If you want to add more, on the top here, you see download agents. Once you click on the download agent, it will give you the link, your different link, or you can download the agent based on the few operating systems, Linux, Mac, and Windows, and then you can do that. That is for manually. For companies, they use a distribution server. Like I was saying, we don't have a distribution server. So this is off. If you are setting up in an actual company, you would list a domain, you add a server, and you can use this server to distribute this particular agent to the number of computers and endpoints under your care. So this is one thing about Endpoint Central. So let's assume that we now have things under our care. We've installed agent on them. As tricky as people are, people can uninstall the agents on their computers. But there's a way for Endpoint Central to secure those things. You can restrict people from uninstalling those agents. Because, let's say you are blocking people from visiting a website, you are blocking ports, you are doing this, you are doing that. Maybe they don't want them. They want to find a way to visit these sites. But no, they will try and uninstall this particular agent. So if you go inside your administrative console in the admin tab, once you click on the admin tab, you will see a list of configurations that you can set in Endpoint Central. So you look at security settings. You go to security settings here, and then it says that you can restrict end users from uninstalling the agents and the distribution server for large companies. So you can configure this. And once you configure this, they will need the administrative password to uninstall the agent. You see, and this is also for Windows only to restrict end users from stopping agent service. On Windows computers, everything that runs on Windows runs on services, or you see them in your services. So if you search for services here, everything that runs on your computer, you see them here. Now, these people might not uninstall the agents, but they might stop it for the meantime. And this is where everything runs. So they can come here, look for that particular agent and stop it here. Once it's stopped, this agent will not work as it's supposed to work unless they start it again. So within these both things, you can configure these two and make sure that for Windows applications, people don't uninstall the agents, or if, let's say, in your house, your kids don't uninstall the agents and your kids don't stop the agent from running, because it is the agent that will give you as many information, and wherever command you set here, the agent will come and pick it up. That is what it is. So let's say that we want to do something, we want to restrict or we want to change something on the computer under our care. We can see other configurations here. On the tab, on the menu bar, you see configurations there. And under configurations here, you can select configurations for Windows, Mac, and for Linux. So let's do for Windows, right? So this is the Windows. Let's click on Windows. And we have firewall settings. Firewall, you can block and allow IP addresses, block and allow ports, so on and so forth. You want to block something using a firewall on those computers under your care, you can use this. If you want to install a font, if you want to do permission access, if you want to secure USB, you don't want USBs to be working on those computers. All USBs would not work. If somebody puts USB in the computer you manage, those USBs will not open. This is there to protect, computers from viruses and also from people downloading things out of the system, or from people installing things that you don't agree. You can do all these things here under the secure USB. and that thing can also happen. You can choose which things you want to unblock. So these things are things you can unblock and block. So the mouse pad will not work. If somebody puts in a mouse, it will not work. If it is a Bluetooth, it will not work. Apple USB devices, it will not work. Modems, printers, images, Bluetooth, floppy disks, this. Once you do unblock, you block and unblock them, you can choose what happens. So whether block or unblock them, so you can block them here. As many as you can block these things. And whenever somebody puts in a USB in those devices you manage, the USBs will not be functioning. If the USB is a mouse, it will not be functioning. If the USB is a disk drive, it will not be functioning because you've blocked it. If the USB is a CD-ROM, it's a portable device, depending on which one you choose, then you would enable and you deploy them. So one thing that's also important is the name. You can configure the name. So type in a name so that if, let's say, you want to change it after some time, you want to disable it after some time, it is easier for you to do that. And then another important thing inside Endpoint Central is the defining your target. There might be a lot of computers under your care. Which computer do you want this to affect? Maybe in a company, there are some computers that you want them to affect. You can select them here, right? You can select them here with your target. You can add as many targets times. Every time you try, I want you to do 2 on log on and 3 on refresh. What it means is that if the computer turns on, I want you to try twice. If the agent is refreshing its system, the agents you have on those computers are refreshing its system, I want you to try 3 times. So it is 2 plus 3 will give you a 5. So whatever you select here, you can configure them based on that. So if it's 6, you can divide it among here. So whatever you select here, you should divide it here. And also you can enable notification that if it goes through, it should email you, the administrator, that this particular setting that you did, this settings has gone through those computers you selected under your care, and those computers would do that, so on and so forth. And as soon as you select one, you do deploy. If you deploy, these things would go to the system under your care. The agent will come in, the agent will pick it up, and the agent will just send it up. This is how it works. You set up a configuration, you set up their targets, you set up the number of times you should retry, and then you deploy. You get it? That is how this thing works. So like I was saying, that the major concern, I won't say this, or the major thing that we can do aside these things, there are firewall settings, there are display settings. If let's say you want them to have fonts, you can do that. You want them to have a wallpaper, you can even change the wallpaper on those computers. The wallpaper, you can create a wallpaper here, and these wallpapers will go there. Maybe as a company, you want them to have, a company logo as the wallpaper. You can change them here. The screensaver, general, other things. So there are more things that you can do here. So the thing is, set the configuration, set the targets, set the number of time it should retry with notifications, and you deploy. These are how it works, right? And this is one thing about Endpoint Central. So the major thing that Endpoint Central will do is also for threats and patches. This is where I'll end today's session. So for threats and patches, if you want these computers to have the latest updates, Endpoint Central itself will scan your computers, find the vulnerabilities on them, find vulnerabilities that they can fix, and tell you that, yes, there are some vulnerabilities on this system that I can't fix them. You have to fix them manually because you can't fix this vulnerability with patches. Maybe those applications include something that you have to uninstall, right? So if, let's say, with some programs like Adobe programs, maybe Photoshop like this, if you have Photoshop 2021 and it has vulnerabilities on them, you can't use a patch to do that. You must install Photoshop 2022 because 2022 would fix that vulnerability. So that one is something you have to do manually. You can uninstall Photoshop and install that again because with those tools, you need licenses. So if you want 2021, you must transfer the license to 2022. If you want 2023 with Photoshop, you must transfer the license. So Endpoint Central cannot help you with those things. But with basic applications that you can update them regularly to fix a vulnerability, it will tell you that it can fix 42 vulnerabilities out of the 136. The 136 vulnerabilities, it can fix 42. 94 out of 136, you must do them manually. And to do them manually, they've also given you how you can fix these vulnerabilities manually. And these are how the vulnerabilities are split based on how critical they are, how moderate, how low, how important. So these are the severity levels of those vulnerabilities. And as you know, vulnerabilities are just weaknesses. So you can select your system and you can fix a vulnerability from here, or you can install a patch from here. You don't want your users, you don't want those endpoints to be manually installing their updates. You can issue an update from Endpoint Central, and then Endpoint Central will send that particular update to the agent you installed on those computers. The agents will pick it up, the agents will run it on those computers, and those security updates will be fixed. Or sorry, those vulnerabilities will be fixed with that security patch. This is one thing that it can do. On the other hand, there's also a place for flexibility. IT administrators do not want to just automatically deploy patches or deploy updates because sometimes an update might bring its own problems. So there is also an area in Endpoint Central where you can test an update before you run the update. So you can test an update on a different computer before you send an update on your actual endpoint in your company or in your house, anywhere you are managing with Endpoint Central. This can be a virtual machine. So IT administrators can just set up a virtual machine and they will deploy these patches on that virtual machine to see if these patches work. If these patches or security updates work, they are functioning, there's no error, then they will deploy that using Endpoint Central. That is another conversation for another time, where you can set up these test groups. So these things are called test groups. Those things are called test groups. And as soon as you test those things, you can approve them. So here, you can see all those things here. You can just modify them. Either you use a test and approve, or you automatically send updates without testing. If you select test and approve and you save, you can add a test group. So the test group is where that will be the virtual machine you will set up, and this virtual machine, you will deploy these patches on the virtual machines to see if these patches work or not. But then, if you don't want these, you can just automatically deploy them without doing test and approve, and that won't be an issue. But maybe if those patches come with their own flaws or their own issues, you wouldn't know because you didn't test those patches, right? But the general idea of even patches is that once you come to the patches column, you select a patch. Once you select a patch here, it will tell you the computer that the patch is missing on, right? And you do install patches. Once you do install patches, it will tell you the same command. You select the command, you select the target. So this is the patch. You select your targets, you select the number of retry, and then you deploy. And even with this configuration, there are other things that you can set up, because that will take time. So this is where I will end for now. But this is a user-friendly software or a user-friendly console that IT administrators use to manage endpoints. They have these endpoints under their care, then they can issue commands here. They can do more things here. So, like I was saying, the configurations, firewall settings. If you deploy a firewall settings here, it would be picked by the agent. The agent would put it in the firewall running on those computers. It will add it to those firewall rules, and those firewall rules would be enforced. This is how mostly it works. Whenever you set up a configuration, it is the agent that would be doing all those things in the background of those endpoints that you have in your organization. So while the agent is not on the systems, whatever you do here will not work. That is why you can configure that nobody can stop the agent, nobody can disable the agent, so that the agent will do their job. So agents are an important part of Endpoint Central. As soon as you have the agent installed on those computers, be it a Linux, be it a Windows, be it a Mac, you can do that. Mostly with Linux, a lot of things you do that with custom scripts. If you're familiar with Linux, you must do a lot of things with that. With Linux system, you must type in scripts to install applications. If you do sudo apt install, you will install. So you can input those commands here, and then the Linux systems will pick it up and it will run those commands, and those things will be downloaded on the Linux system. I'm not too familiar with Mac, but I believe that it is also the same with Mac systems. You can do more, and Mac systems will also take it as long as you are sending these configurations to the Mac. So you can do threat and patches. You can also do software deployments, another thing. You can install new software. That is software deployment, new softwares. If let's say your company, you are now using maybe Teams, and at first you were using Teams, now you're using Zoom. So you want to run Zoom on those computers. You can use the software deployment, select Zoom, send it to the agent. The agent would install Zoom on those endpoints. This is how strong and how powerful Endpoint Central is. So this and many more things that we can do with Endpoint Central. Endpoint Central is a tool that you have to pay for. Manage Engine will give you a 30-day free trial. You can go online, go to Endpoint Central, look for Manage Engine's Endpoint Central, try and understand it. Visit there, play along with that. Put as many computers as you can under your care. If you want to create a virtual machine to do that, we've taught you how to create a virtual machine in this class. One time we're doing that. So virtual machines, you can create as many virtual machines as you want. Put those things under your care. If it was a company, those virtual machines would be agents or would be computers. You can manage those things from here. Set commands from your console, send it to those devices. Fine. If you are in a house where you have kids also there, you can put those kids laptops under your care and you manage that. Yes, Clifford.
Not to cut you off, you finish the session and then I'll ask the questions that I want. Just 2 questions.
Okay.
Should I go ahead?
So yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to ask if there would be security features disabled from the actual endpoint devices before this it can communicate with manage.
No. So no security features will be disabled because it's an agent. And Endpoint Central has way where it works with a lot of security tools. So definitely there's no security thing that will be disabled. As soon as you do this, it will work with those security tools. So if let's say you have a different firewall, this agent will be working with that firewall. If you have an antivirus, you have this, you have that. This Endpoint Central, it is also another security tool. So it works better with other security tools you have. So there's no need for you to turn them off. What is the next question, please?
Okay, thank you. And the next one is in terms of Windows, does it work independently apart from WinRAR?
Does it work independently? Like, I'm confused with that question. What do
If
you what?
a company's endpoints are managed by Windows Active Directory in terms of Windows computers, would these agents work hand in hand with WinAd or work alone?
Yes, I believe that because you can set registry settings here. Under the admin console, there are a lot of, when you go to the admin console, yeah, right? And if you read, mostly these things come with a lot of documentations, right? But here, there are a lot of integrations here that you can read more about them. So you can integrate with Splunk, Zoho, Zira. There are a lot of things that this particular thing will integrate with. So I believe that whatever it is, whether it is an Active Directory that you manage, you can integrate this with that. And all these things will be under the documentation side, right? But as this is a security tool, and this security tool is also there to help other computers make sure that those computers are managed in terms of the directories, then I believe that, yes, it can integrate and it can work with them on Windows system. Does that answer your
Thank you
question?
for the clarification. Yes, it does.
Okay. So any other questions before we leave this particular we end this section? All right. So if you want to try this out, you can go online, set it up, put it under your home. If you have stubborn kids in your house, you can just try and manage them and make sure that they don't visit some places. You can use firewall settings to block IP addresses, to block ports. So websites have IP addresses. So if you want to do that, you can use the firewall settings to block IPs, block ports, tell them, hello, Albert, do you want to say something?
Yes, Thomas, thank you very much for your presentation. In as much as Endpoint Central is an endpoint management solution, I wanted to find out if it has the capability of blocking URLs, domains, as part of its security offering, and how does that compare with Intune?
How does that compare with what?
Intune,
Intune.
yes.
Okay, so Intune is a Microsoft solution, right? Yes. Endpoint Central here block IP addresses, block URL using an IP address. You see, now Endpoint Central isn't your basic your basic firewall tool. If you want to block a URL, blocking it using the IP address is one thing that a lot of administrators use firewall to do. So let's say if you want to block a particular website, you know that websites are hosted on IP addresses. You find those IP addresses and then you block them using a firewall. So if you block them using an inbound settings with that particular IP address of that particular website, then it means that you are not visiting that website because that website has been blocked. So with this, if you want to do that, it has a firewall settings rule. You would have to find out the IP address behind those things. And mostly a lot of websites have an IP address that you can look at. Right. I think there was even a CMD command that you can do to find the IP address of that particular system that you are working. You can use the trace route and the trace set for Linux, trace route for Windows. We trace that particular IP, that particular website, you see its IP address. There are other commands that you can input to see the IP address of a link or of a link of a URL, right? Now, you can block that IP address of that particular website. So anything related to that particular IP address, that website, your endpoint will not visit there. And if you can see my screen here, if you go to the configurations, right, you will see a lot of configurations. So let's say with Windows, right? Let's say with Windows. So you see firewall here. Once you see firewall here, it is just a general firewall rule. right? Once you see firewall here, set up the configuration, set up everything. What do you want to do? You want it on inbound, you want to block outbound, block, so on and so forth. You create a firewall rule here. Now, using domain private, make sure everything is selected. You come down. If it's a program, you do that. If it's a port, an IP address, everything will be here. IPv6, everything will be here. So you select what you want to do, and then you add it there. Whatever you select, it will give you it will give you the thing that you want to do, and then you block it. Okay, so let's say you select maybe an IPv6 here. You want to block an IPv6. The rule name will come, the group name will come, the action is block, the direction is inbound. Then you put in that particular IP that you want to block here. Every website has an IP address. You put it in here, you click on save. That once you save it, that becomes a firewall.